Miss Com- Hi, I'm Pat Mitchell with the Ypsilanti District Library, and I'm very happy to introduce my friend Andy Johnson with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology in Ithaca, New York. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Pat. Hello, everyone. Good to
Please,
be here.
thank you. It's so good to have you here. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you got interested in birds.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Ann Arbor in Southeast Michigan, and I I really was just interested in being outside, and I sort of fell into a love of birds when I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and I think it was just one of those things out in the world that I noticed and paid attention to, and it was really fun to learn all the details, learn to recognize all these incredible little creatures that are out there, just right off your doorstep and in places that you don't expect. um, so yeah, I fell in love with sort of seeing the world through birds.
That's great.
And yeah, now I live in Ithaca, New York, and work at the Lab of Ornithology at Cornell, basically in a film production unit. So filming birds is my job, and telling stories about birds, and sort of looking at how we protect our planet and make it a better place for people and birds. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Let me ask you a few questions just to get us started on bird watching. What's the best time of day for bird watching?
Yeah, well, birds are, I mean, the sort of the obvious reality is that birds are out there all the time. And so there's different times of day you can see different things. And traditionally early morning is a great time to go birding because in the spring at least, and in the summer when birds are here to nest and sort of defend their territories, they're actively singing, and it's just sort of it's how they start their day. It's called the dawn chorus. So you'll be able to detect and find birds more easily, usually in the morning. But there's all sorts of different phenomena going on at different times of the day. And during spring migration in April and May, and there's a lot of the birds that we know and are familiar with as daytime songbirds are migrating nocturnally. So even on quiet nights when there's like some clouds, and you can go outside and just hear these little chirp notes going over constantly when birds are migrating north. So there's something to see or hear whenever you're outside.
Great.
Yeah.
How do birds choose where to make their nest?
Um, Birds are, they have such a diversity of nests, and really a nest is all about, in a way, it's kind of a home for a bird, but they're raising their young there, but it's a place not necessarily of safety, but a place of vulnerability, and it's a secret. It's a really well kept secret for birds. Their chicks and their eggs are vulnerable. So birds really hide their nests, but you might find things like robins or phoebes or other sort of familiar birds, wrens and starlings, nest around our homes in cities, and they'll be, on porches, under eaves, or in nest boxes that you can put up. Bluebirds are a common one that will come in. Chickadees will come into nest boxes. But generally speaking, birds try to find a place where they blend into their environment and they're safe from predators and safe from being seen. And I've got a couple pictures actually from some of these filming expeditions I've been on that I thought I might show for this question real quick, because there's some unexpected places that birds nest. And this is a Matthaei's bunting that nests in just only on one tiny little island, way out in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the Bering Sea in Alaska, in the Arctic. And they nest in this landscape. And for us in Southeast Michigan, you don't typically think of a bird nest being really anywhere in this picture. But these are birds that nest on the ground, and they love these little rocky slopes where every one of those little stones on the ground has a little crevice underneath it. So on this island, they were nesting in these tiny little holes and cavities in the rocks. So that's a Matthaei's bunting coming out of its nest that was just up in this little shadow, a hole in the rocks. And this is a rock sandpiper, which is a little bird that spends its winters along the coastline, but spends its breeding time raising its young on tundra on the ground. So this is where this bird nests. And similarly, they're really sort of masters of camouflage, and they just have to, there's no tree to build a nest in here, and there's foxes everywhere trying to sniff out their nests. So they have to just camouflage themselves really well. You can see this guy here, just sitting on the lichen, and every feather just sort of matches the landscape. And get a little closer and you can see a few little downy chicks just kind of poking out there underneath their mother's breast there.
Wow.
But yeah, those are some nests from you know, another part of the world that are in sort of these unexpected little places.
I know you've traveled to some amazing places. Thanks for showing us that.
Yeah, sure.
What do birds around here like to eat?
Birds will they'll eat kind of, there's certain birds will eat very specific things, but birds as a whole will eat kind of everything. There's certain birds that are generalists, you know, crows will eat a lot of things, seagulls will eat a lot of things that they can, whatever they can get their bills on. But a lot of birds, especially songbirds, a lot of birds are really insect dependent, and like insects are a big part of birds' diets, and it's one of the things that's sort of across habitats, and it's one of those things that's actually really problematic for birds and for our environment globally, when we see the major declines in insect abundance as a result of, you know, just development, large scale agriculture, large scale cities, and we've taken away a lot of the spaces where insects thrive, and over time we've you know, wanted to get rid of insects, they're pests, and so we are starting to, that's one of the things that's challenging for birds right now, is that there's a big sort of collapse in just the number of insects that are out there in the world, and that's paralleled by a drop in the number of birds that are out there in the world. So their food is certainly critical, and for a lot of birds it's various kinds of insects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, along those lines, what are some simple things that kids can do to help birds?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things out there to do. I mean, I think one of the best things to do is to just spend some time outside and watch birds, learn about them, try to understand what they're doing and how they're, you know, making their way in the world. I think it's something that has a lot to teach us about life in general, but I think just building that relationship and that knowledge of some kind, just with the wider world around us and beyond just us humans, is fundamentally the most important thing. And then there's all sorts of little things that you can do. I mean, you can use fewer plastics, because plastics are going into the ocean and harming seabirds, are going everywhere. And you know, talk to your parents about mowing less of their lawn and keeping sections of lawn as something that grows annually, and becomes a beautiful little meadow that is full of insects again. So it's sort of that's something you can do. And putting out bird houses and bird feeders is not only great for birds, but it's a great way to see birds and be enriched by birds that are around you. So those are a few things. There's a lot of great programs that the Cornell Lab of Ornithology has for getting involved in citizen science and contributing. You know, as you learn and observe things, you're able to contribute that data and your observations to science that helps protect birds. So there's eBird, where you put your sightings into a database that is changing the way we understand the world of birds. There's programs like Nest Watch, where you get to submit really cool, important data about the birds that are nesting in your backyard, and you learn along the way. But yeah, there's let's see, birds.cornell.edu is kind of the easy place to start and look at some of those things.
Thank you.
There's an app called Merlin that you can get that helps you identify birds all around you. So there's some great resources there at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology to just start exploring.
There really are. Thank you. And we'll be sure and share more of that on our website.
Cool. Great.
What advice do you have for kids just starting bird watching?
I would say there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's nothing that you need. Binoculars are a great tool. They help you see more. Sometimes they can be expensive. There are cheaper ways, but that's it's not necessary though. So I think the most important thing is to get outside and just like start paying attention. Download Merlin and you'll start to notice birds everywhere around you. And it's it's like playing Pokemon Go, but there's something there that you hadn't noticed before because you weren't paying attention, and just opening your eyes to that whole beautiful, crazy, exciting, surprising world is really kind of the best thing you can do. And there's no wrong way to do it.
Wow. I'm inspired by our conversation. Thank you so much, Andy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to see you again and great to talk. So.